Today, we're going to explore the story of Japan's unification at the end of the 16th century, a time of turmoil, bloodshed, and legendary figures. But before we begin, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and help the channel reach 1,000 subscribers. Now let's dive into this fascinating journey through history. At the end of the 16th century, Japan was emerging from the blood-soaked Warring States period. Under the iron will and unifying vision of three exceptional leaders, Oda Nobunaga, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, and Tokugawa Ieyasu, the country was gradually brought under one banner. When Hideyoshi died in 1598, his successor was his 5-year-old son, Toyotomi Hideyori. Real power fell into the hands of a council of 5 regents, headed by Tokugawa Ieyasu. Yet peace was an illusion. The many daimyo feudal lords, though outwardly obedient, each harbored their own ambitions. Hideyoshi had ruled through balance and strength, but his death shattered that balance. Ieyasu, the wealthiest and most well-connected among the regents, quickly became the focus of suspicion and resentment. On the opposing side stood Ishida Mitsunari, a former civil official and close aide to Hideyoshi, who emerged as the guardian of the Toyotomi legacy. Though not a seasoned general, Mitsunari was a master of political maneuvering and alliance building. In the name of loyalty to Hideyori, he rallied a coalition of Western Japan's daimyo. The lines were drawn: Tokugawa Ieyasu in the east, Ishida, Mitsunari in the west. Both sides knew that a full-scale confrontation was inevitable. Both factions began amassing forces. Ieyasu was supported by powerful daimyo like Date Masamune, Honda Tadakatsu, and Ii Naomasa. Behind the scenes, he secretly courted Western generals, tempting them with promises of land, power, and titles in exchange for betrayal. Though Mitsunari was skilled at persuasion, he lacked battlefield experience. Many of the daimyo on his side were not truly loyal, following instead out of obligation to the Toyotomi name. Among them, the most dangerous was Kobayakawa Hideaki, a young, ambitious, but indecisive lord. Commanding 16,000 troops, Hideaki's ambiguous stance made him a critical wild card. Eventually, Mitsunari chose to march eastward to seize the initiative, capturing Gifu and threatening Kyoto. Ieyasu quickly mobilized his army from Edo and marched westward. The inevitable clash took place at Sekigahara, a narrow valley in central Japan, where 2 massive armies would decide the fate of the nation. October 21st to 1600. A thick fog blanketed Sekigahara. Across the hills and valleys stood over 160,000 soldiers. Tokugawa Ieyasu led 75,000 troops, mostly from eastern provinces. Ishida Mitsunari commanded 80,000, positioned defensively on the high ground. Mitsunari's formation was divided into several wings. He commanded the center. On his left was Ukita Hide, on the right Shimazu Yoshihiro. Behind them, on a critical hill, stood the forces of Kobayakawa Hideaki, the enigmatic piece on the board. Ieyasu deployed his troops in flexible formations from the east, placing his most trusted generals at the spearhead, Ii Naomasa with his fearsome red-armored warriors, Honda Tadakatsu, on the left flank. The battle began around 8 a.m. as arrows, musket fire, and war horns shattered the fog. Tokugawa forces launched a strong assault on the western left, commanded by Ukita. The resistance was fierce, resulting in a hard-fought stalemate in the early hours. Ieyasu waited patiently for the moment he had carefully planned: Kobayakawa, Hideaki's betrayal. For weeks before the battle, Ieyasu had secretly approached Hideaki, coaxing, threatening, and promising rich rewards in return for defection. But during the battle, Hideaki remained silent. He held his position, refusing to move. Ieyasu, sensing hesitation, ordered cannons to fire directly at Hideaki's location, a clear ultimatum. Pressured from both sides, Hideaki finally made his move. Around midday, Kobayakawa suddenly attacked Ukita Hideye, his supposed ally, striking from the rear. The assault shattered the western left. Several other daimyo followed suit, including Ogawa Tsuketada and Akaza Naoyasu. Morale in Mitsunari's army collapsed rapidly. In the center, Mitsunari tried desperately to hold his ground, but chaos had spread. On the right flank, Shimazu Yoshihiro fought valiantly, even launching a fierce last stand before retreating with a few loyal retainers. By late afternoon, the Western army had completely disintegrated. Mitsunari was captured a few days later while hiding in a monastery. Other commanders were hunted down and either executed or forced to commit seppuku. Victory belonged to Tokugawa Ieyasu. The triumph at Sekigahara did not just end Mitsunari's ambitions, it eliminated all remaining obstacles for Ieyasu. He swiftly purged the remnants of the Western coalition, confiscated lands, and redistributed domains to his loyal allies. In 1603, Tokugawa Ieyasu was officially appointed shogun by the emperor, establishing the Tokugawa shogunate. This military government would rule for over 260 years, ushering in the Edo period, a time of peace, isolation, and strict social order. Under Tokugawa rule, Japan was divided into feudal domains, tightly controlled by the central government. Daimyo were required to alternate their residence between their own domain and Edo, modern-day Tokyo, under the Sankin Kotai system, effectively ensuring their obedience. The Toyotomi family was fully eliminated when Osaka, their final stronghold, was attacked and destroyed in 1615. The Battle of Sekigahara is often called the decisive battle that determined Japan's fate. It marked the end of the Warring States period and the beginning of more than 2 centuries of political stability, an exceptional era in Japanese history. Tokugawa Ieyasu, with wisdom, patience, and strategic vision, achieved victory not only through arms but also through psychological and political mastery. He understood the essence of human nature, greed, hesitation, honor, and played them like pieces on a chessboard. However, the cost of victory was Japan's self-imposed isolation for over 200 years, causing the nation to lag behind the West, until it was forcibly opened in the 19th century. But at the time, what the people craved most was peace, and Tokugawa delivered that, beginning with one misty morning in the valley of Sekigahara. And that brings the story of Japan to an end. Thank you all for watching, and see you in the next video.